be here. You can also work out and we can see you. You don't, there are really no rules. We like working out here, many of us.
The
So
rules are there are no rules.
that's right. The only
Okay.
rule is you're doing a service to yourself to be here. I don't know if that's a rule, but
I like that as a rule, right? Focus on you.
focus on you. Is there anything anyone wants to say as we see if more of our friends arrive here? Haven't seen Katie for a while. I wonder how Katie's doing. Erin, would you like to reach out to Katie?
Katie, what's Katie's last name?
What's Katie's last name?
Do we know? I'll find her in my
We'll
network.
find her. She was coming to these regularly. She's a doctor and she would come from work. It's like she'd work an all-nighter and then come. It was amazing. So just the commitment.
That's dedication, the best kind, right?
Totally.
Yes.
So is anything happening for anyone that you want to just mention? So we
No,
can-
but I will comment, thank you on that line. I know I leave right at the top of the hour. I just wanted to say, like, I have a meeting that starts right after this, so I'm sorry,
you don't need
cut
to.
whoever is talking off.
No worries. Thank you for naming that. And I think you had told us that. So I just,
Did I? Okay.
if you got to go, you got to go. So it's a good example. It's like, come late, leave it right at the top of the hour, leave early if you have to. But the point is to show up because this is time for you, which is really important. It's the most important. And as rare mothers, you don't get a lot of time to yourself.
I have something. I know this is about us, but we put in so many hours of physical therapy that I feel like I also reached this achievement. But my son, who's 19 months, just started sitting up with no hands for like 15 or 20 seconds. And we are just so excited.
Yay. Wonderful. That's so awesome. Yeah. Celebrating the milestones, the littlest milestones, the bigger milestones, and those go with your child or children and with yourself. And this is such a piece that I work on with so many people is just that, oh, I'm valuing what I'm doing. I'm valuing my contribution to my family, to the team. So I'll repeat that over and over because I feel like we skip over ourselves and it takes a lot of intentionality to be able to just say, oh, right, I did that. I took my walk. I did my meditation. I made myself something healthy to eat. I took a deep breath. I mean, I'm talking like really recognizing, oh, I took a nice, long, slow, deep breath in the middle of my frenetic doing, my busy, busy day. So just before we even dive into our meditation, what's something that we can celebrate with you that you have done or a way of being with yourself or others? What do you want to celebrate together? Go ahead,
My
Erin.
husband loves connection and I'm more introverted, like in that sense. And so he's happy if he can hold my hand or hold my foot if my hands are busy or anything. And he has to be like on my couch cushion. And I was really proud the other day, like I told him he was sitting too far away. I said, you're sitting too far away and you're not even holding my foot. Because I was doing something with our kids and he was like, oh, he's like, and he felt really special that I thought of that, right? Because I'm trying to be good about that because I get overwhelmed in the day, right? And I get where I'm just too peopled out and that happens to me really, really easy, even though I seem more extroverted. And he does not. And so it was really sweet that he was like, oh, you invited me to sit on your couch cushion. Like it was really sweet.
Oh, that's so lovely. Yay. Those reach outs, those
Right.
little efforts make a really big difference.
Yeah.
They do. Great. What else can we celebrate with you?
I just had my second interview for what could be a pretty big promotion this week. And I was amazed. So my first interview, I felt pretty rocky about it. Didn't feel like my best representation. My second one, I walked out and I was like, that was actually a fun conversation. I enjoyed that. And my husband that I shared it with, like, he couldn't find the words in the moment, but he said, I don't know how to explain, but I'm really happy for you that you had a good conversation. And I just thought it was so sweet. We get so focused on the things that we're doing individually for our household. And I don't know, it just kind of gave me a moment of thinking, like, he takes joy in the things that are good for me too. And we miss that sometimes.
Yes, that is so important. Joy for somebody else's joy, for your partner's joy, to prioritize that. Wow, they loved doing that so much, or you did so well in the interview. Celebrating. My partner comes home from surfing and he's super excited. Takes like surfing lunch breaks sometimes. And he's so excited. And I just need to celebrate that he caught the best wave, and he's so thrilled. So taking joy in others' joy amplifies it. What about you, Susie?
I think my celebration is I did yoga this morning and I definitely contemplated skipping it.
Good for you.
Great.
Yeah.
Way to show up for yourself. And I love that you said, and I definitely contemplated skipping it, right?
100%.
Because
Yep.
it's so easy to skip it. You're like, I could just I'm too busy. And actually your body really needs it. And your heart really needs it. Just to breathe and have a little space, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. So good.
Reminds me a little bit. I did a DBT program a couple of years ago, and there was this concept of like, do the opposite of what you're feeling. And Susie, that reminds me of that. Like, there are times that I don't want to work out and I have to ask myself, like, why don't I want to work out? It's usually just because I want to sleep more. I'm being lazy. And so I just try to tell myself, just do the opposite. Same with friends. I'm finding myself having less and less energy for other people, and have been trying to get better at just like, do it. I know I just like working out. I will feel better after I spend time with my friends, even though right now I feel like it sounds exhausting.
And that can be so true. I had the same experience with an old friend, and we were texting like, hey, is this a good time to talk? And she's like, oh, I'm really kind of tired. I don't know. I want to be able to show up for you. And then we dropped in and it was so energizing. It was so nourishing to talk about our kids, to talk about our lives, the simple things. So yeah, there is that, as you're both pointing to, that getting kind of over the hump of the resistance of like, oh, I can't really, I'm just too tired. I'm too spent. Because we have to realize that these things will fill our cup rather than drain our cup. That is, if we're engaging with someone who can really meet us, not someone who's just gonna, talk our ear off and not really pay attention. So good. How about you, Mel? What can we celebrate? Should we celebrate that you're working out right now or something else?
Yes, definitely that, which I'm doing because when we did our little wheel thing, I put physical as number one. So I figured I should take a few minutes. And I'm also a busybody. So of course, on my way from my bedroom to the basement where the treadmill is, I found like 8 different things to do: work, putting laundry in, tidying up around the treadmill. And I was like, oh my God, just get on the freaking treadmill and do it. So I was like, I know that I could probably also use the excuse to go to this Zoom to not do it, but why don't I just do it together and I'll feel better about it. And then, yes, I mentioned my son sitting up, which is just super exciting for us. And what else? I am looking for a new therapist, which I'm also really excited about. I was in therapy when my son was in the NICU, and I'm just not very good with emotions and talking to people about emotions. Or if I do, say I want to talk, you know, if they're busy, because I'm a single mom, if they're busy or whatever, I don't want to nag them. So I'm like, I just need to find someone that I know I can turn to and not feel bad about. So I'm just taking some extra steps to do something for me. I mean, I'm gonna hate that I'm paying for it, but I'm gonna love that I know I'm gonna like it, even if it's gonna be uncomfortable. So yeah, that's it.
Oh, Mel, you're gonna hate it as much as you like it. Like,
Yeah, I know.
but
Yeah.
that's the good part. I find that like the periods where I hate therapy are the periods where I feel the most growth as I look back.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I
still
think
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
hard to not have the answers too and sit in the uncomfortable. That's really hard for me.
Yep. Sit in the uncomfortable, sit in the unknown, lean
Yeah.
into the feelings rather than just
Yeah.
stay up here in the attic, but rather
Yeah.
lean in and sense what's really happening and be with it,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
it's just for a few breaths to start.
yeah, we go like so fast. It's just like go to appointments to like we were traveling and I've got work. And so actually coming to this retreat, I realized that every single time I was finally sitting down and like listening to other mothers or thinking about how I felt, I like wanted to cry. And I was like, okay, I obviously need to talk through some stuff. So just realizing that about myself, I think is also something to celebrate, because I would have just kept going with just being like, okay, if I focus on the next project, I don't have to think about everything that I'm feeling.
Right. The thing is that all the stuff that you haven't felt will get stacked up, and eventually you will get to, it'll just get louder and louder until you can't ignore it anymore. So
I use the analogy in my house of it being a rug, right? And when you stuff stuff under your rug gets really, really lumpy. And then you trip on your own rug.
yeah,
And it's not fair that I put things under my rug and make it really lumpy. And then oftentimes when my rug gets lumpy, my family's rugs get lumpy and they trip too, and it's not even their fault.
right.
You know, that's kind of how I look at it or think about it.
Yep. So
I think the
true.
hard part of that though is that we're rewarded for this kind of behavior. It's like Mel, I so relate in the like, I'm not gonna feel this. I'm gonna go work on and I've told myself, I'm not gonna feel this. I'm gonna do the one thing that will make it better and then go do it. And then you get rewarded for that over and over and over, and the behavior gets reinforced. And you're so spot on, and that those feelings don't go away. And that's what happened to me. Like I had an actual breakdown because it got to a point that I couldn't, like COVID happened and it became the thing that broke everything. It sucks. And it's hard breaking these habits. I find that I'm trying to break some of these habits because I know they're good for me, but also worried I'm going to lose some of my identity, because my identity is a get shit done kind of person. So like, how do you have both?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That is so true. Yeah, I think it's hard for me because, you know, like especially pre-Logan, I was kind of known as the fun, sociable, go out girl. You know, I can listen to other people and be great at that, but when it comes to me talking, it's not that I shut down. I'm just very good at, I think, being able to internalize it do it on my own. And if I do need to talk, like I will, but it's like, you know, once in a blue moon. But yeah, it is funny because like I'm just not seen as that person, and it kind of scares me to like have people see me as that person, because I don't know, I feel like I should stop thinking that being emotional is a bad thing. Like it can be a part of my identity, and all that other stuff can be too. I think I just need to rewire a bit.
That's it. It's the rewiring. And it's also like you're talking about using the doing to deal with feelings. Because if you keep doing, and I've seen this with people who are doing, they're super successful. And then you know what happens? Retirement. Something will stop you, whether it's a breakdown, it's a retirement, it's something. And also we're human, right? We're human beings and we're not human doings. We also do things, we execute tasks. And we're talking about really being aware, which is a good segue to meditating. And yeah, being aware of who we are on the inside, and not just that we are tasking machines. and we have to get stuff done. That's part of being in 3D. It's just part of the deal here. We gotta move things from A to B and change this and fix that and tend to this. So let's meditate. I'm going to read to you from this book. It's a beautiful book, The Radiant Sutras, 12 Gateways to Wonder and Delight, Lauren Roche. This is a really, really beautiful book. It's translation by him. And I'll just read you one and then we'll meditate for about 8 minutes. So this is number 50, Sutra number 50. You can close your eyes, just get comfortable. All around you, in every moment, the world is offering a feast for your senses. Songs are playing, tasty food is on the table, fragrances are in the air, colors fill the eyes with light. You who long for union, attend this banquet with loving focus. The outer and inner worlds open to each other. Oneness of vision, oneness of heart. Right here in the midst of it all, mount that elation, ascend with it, become identical with the ecstatic essence, embracing both worlds. Become identical with the ecstatic essence, embracing both worlds. So just breathe and just let that wash over and through you. It's not really about understanding it. It's just about letting it touch you in any way that it does. So allowing the body to get into a comfortable position. And you can really take a moment to turn your attention toward yourself and see, do I need to shift this way or that way? If you're sitting up, would you prefer to lay down? If you're moving, is it time to pause? Whatever it is, notice and prioritize yourself. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself notice the breath. And as you breathe, you might become aware that breath creates space. Space for you as a rare mother to be with yourself, to be with any feelings, the full range of feelings, from joy to sorrow, deep tenderness, grief, allowing the breath to gently create space in your heart. And we were speaking about doing earlier today, and right now, this is a time for being. The heart is a space where you can let yourself be just as you are. Breathing and bringing some curiosity, the gentle, warm light of curiosity. Turning this toward your own heart. Notice what's here. As you bring this curiosity, this sense of wonder to yourself, you are expanding your ability to bring wonder to your life, to appreciate the little things in yourself, in your child or children, and in your partner and the people on your team, your support structure. Friends, family, healers, doctors. And if the mind starts to wander through the long list of things that you have to do or want to do, just for now, bring it right back. Bring it here, to your breath, perhaps to your heart. Maybe just taking these last couple of minutes to feel how you're here, the wonder of how you arrived here in this moment, in this beautiful community of rare mothers, of people who get you, who accept and appreciate you exactly as you are. See if you can receive this. That you are here, that you carved out this precious time to be here together. Continuing to land in your breath, one breath at a time. You might even marvel at how your breath is rising and falling all on its own. taking a moment and resting your hands on your heart. Just give thanks. Thank yourself for being here. Whether you're here live with us or whether you have happened upon this meditation, acknowledging yourself for taking the time to be in sacred space with yourself. And as you're ready, let yourself come back and let's just take a few minutes to journal about what supports you to stay connected to wonder, the wonder at yourself, appreciation and wonder, because they're very closely connected. That you're appreciating the little things that you're doing, that you're appreciating what's happening in your life with your partner, with your support team, with your community. So what helps you to stay connected, or what are the keys to being connected to appreciation and wonder? So we'll just reflect, and this is for you. You're also welcome to share it, and there's no pressure to share any of it. You're also welcome to just reflect on whatever is happening for you. Another minute or so. Mm. There's Phyllis. I was wondering where our Phyllis was. Hi, Phyllis. You came to me in the meditation. I was like, where's Phyllis? And here you are.
Well, that's funny. I was wondering the same thing.
I had a Phyllis flash. You came through and then you have appeared, which is awesome. And Mel's back too. So if you're just arriving or returning, just take a few breaths. Just take a few breaths. You made it. So we are reflecting on what are the keys to staying connected to wonder and appreciation of ourselves, of our partners, of the people on our team. Because it's really important, because unless I find unless I intend that, it doesn't necessarily happen. I can just sort of, there's a falling asleep that can happen. A habitual, falling into habitual assumptions and projections. So what did you discover? What's helpful? Because what's helpful for you is very likely helpful for someone else. What are the keys in your relationship with yourself and partner and team?
I'll go.
Okay.
I think for me, one of the themes that keeps popping up in conversation and just in thought for me right now is kind of an unconditional love, right? For myself and for my family members in times when it's really, really hard, right? And so my husband and I found ourselves defining that the other day. What does that mean?
Nice.
Right. And I said, well, I mean, for me, it means, loving somebody, doing something that's in their best interest, always, all the time, because it's the right thing to do. And even when it's hard, and especially when it's the hardest, right? And then he says, well, can I ask you then why you don't do that for yourself?
Question.
And I was like, ooh, I said, that's pokey. That's what I told him. It's a pokey question. And he's right, though. I'm not, and I do that for everybody else. And I think I wear this badge of the unconditional lover, right? But I don't demand that for myself. And I certainly am not putting out into the universe vibes that I deserve it because I don't give it to myself. Right. And so it's super hard. And then I find that, like, with our support system right now, it's super important because my son is 16 and we've been living with this rare disease world for a while. And we're just now starting to have lots of new things unfold. I mean, we just found out last week that because of his heart condition, that his liver is almost in complete cirrhosis and he's 16. So now we're trying to figure out what to do with that. And so that's hard. But I often get resentful that my support system isn't there because they don't demand to be there. But I also don't let them in. And so I kind of thought about that the other day. And it was my birthday week last week, and I didn't want to deal with the liver on my birthday. I just flat out refused to deal with it. And so my sister took that and ran with it and went and got into his medical records and made spreadsheets and did internet sleuthing and came up with all of the questions that I needed to ask the doctor after my birthday was over. And I was like, huh, I always get irritated because she's not there, but I don't ask her to be there or really give her the space to be there.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
that was pretty cool. That was like a good birthday present, kind of, right? That I gave
Yeah,
myself and allowed her to give me, which was pretty cool.
that's beautiful. That's great. And really practicing unconditional love with yourself
Yeah.
is a gift for you. And I
It's
love also that you said, you know, you haven't been making room for other people to give to you. So happy birthday.
Hey, thanks. My last year of my 30s.
Woohoo. Mm. I
This is
love that you're exploring the nature of unconditional love in a relationship. That's
It's
good
amazing.
news. You're
It's a
asking
good-
the deep questions. What else did you discover in this process, in this inquiry?
I picked up this based on your comments just now, that I've been working with my individual therapist on worthiness. And I think some of my background just leaves me feeling like I don't carry the worth. So when you were talking about like, why don't you give that to yourself? That like really resonated. So my homework assignment from a week ago was to write down seven characteristics or internal reasons that validate that I'm worthy. I got 3. Like it is just, it's such a thing to say, but it is so hard to internalize this concept. Interestingly, one of them was my unconditional love for my daughter. Was like, I was just talking to a friend about that today, and how like I just couldn't have understood what love meant until I had her, and now like nothing else measures up. Which frankly makes it a little hard on my marriage too, because I don't have that same visceral feeling that I do with my daughter. And anyway, this is just all interconnected to the stuff that I'm thinking about and don't know how to process myself.
I love that you're pointing to the feeling of unconditional love. That's a good direction to explore the feeling. What's the feeling? What's the feeling in my body? Because I also heard you say, you know, the stuff I don't know how to process. Well, that is how you process it, by staying in your body and noticing, oh, how does this feel? And this is also how you stay connected to wonder, is with this, the curiosity of, whoa, what does this feel like? And what if I just imagine that I was worthy? As a wonderful shaman I used to know would say, his phrase was, I am a sacred and worthy being. Sacred and worthy being. We would say that every single time we would gather together in circle. I'm a sacred, worthy being. And he even made those little kind of rubber band bracelets. So you're welcome to take that on just as an exploration. If you even say to yourself, I'm a sacred, worthy being, just even notice. There might be no, there are no neural pathways maybe for that just yet. It might just kind of Teflon
With
off.
negative ones, it becomes like my neural pathway is all the reasons that I'm not, like every single reason that I don't fall into that worthiness category lights up. And I think that's the point that you're making, is like trying to change those.
Rewire. And with those negative, with those objections, those parts that are having resistance, shh, we're not doing that now. We're not doing that now. Thank you. No, thank you. It's a peanut gallery. It's like throwing mud on your nice, clean dress. So you're doing the work. I really get that.
Right.
Awesome. You are.
I know that when I'm trying to convince myself of worthiness, it's a component, I think, of self-compassion teachings of common humanity, and just of talking about like what is the like common element that all humans have that makes them worthy, and that reminder of like, if I'm giving this to my child, if I would give this to the grocery store clerk, anybody, you know, just because they're a human, right? There's inherent sacredness and worth. And so it's like, it helps me flip where I'm like, it is illogical to not give me at least a little dose of that. If, you know, if A, then if B, then C, like I get some of that if I'm a human. So that's something that is helpful when I have to like, no, it is illogical to not, you know, like you're being ridiculous when you don't give yourself a little ounce of worthiness in there. And we could work on expanding that and making it a little easier throughout the day. But there's that little bit that's just unconditional, right? And hopefully a lot of it is unconditional actually, but I have to focus on that little bit that I can truly say it's unconditional. Just because I'm a breathing human, I get something.
Exactly. And like you said, like you came in with it. Why are you sacred and worthy? Because you're alive. That's why. It's before I achieved my this and my that and my, you know, whatever it is.
It's before the doing.
Before the doing. Before the doing. I came
Is
in.
you can't separate those two concepts.
That's your work.
Self-worth versus self-esteem. And I think that's where we're going, is like, I have great levels of self-esteem.
Mhm.
But it's all based on action. Like it's all based on the things that I've done or the things that I do, and not because of who I am. And just a mind, it's hard for me to see getting to a place where this feels natural and intuitive. But I know it's possible because I've seen it happen.
That's all needed, is to know it's possible.
Yeah.
To know it's possible. Because the thing about having our self-esteem or self-worth rest on the giant stack of our doing. And I see this, and Phyllis, I mean, you might also speak to this too. When you get to a later stage in life, there are a lot of things you can't do. You can do different things and you can modify. And I'm watching this. I'm watching this in my own life. I'm watching this with my father, who was a very successful doctor and a super athlete. And all those things are not happening now. So what you have left is who you know yourself to be, that your worth is inherent and not dependent upon all the things I can do for myself or for you. Because as we know, at the end, we can't do a lot for ourselves. That's how it goes. So I don't know, Phyllis, if you have anything you want to share about that because of where you're already sitting a little further down the road.
I have had a week now of not seeing, no, let me say that another way. This week has been a lot of the time of me being critical of myself, the person I am the caregiver for, and doctors and helpers. And the unconditional love that I give everybody and that I give myself just wasn't there this week. And thank goodness I can go back to my faith and whatever you believe or whomever you believe in. I think of the example of the living Christ and his unconditional love, his attitude. And that reminds me to be more like that and to give the unconditional love to myself, to the person I take care of, and for doctors especially. And I'm so grateful that I have that to refer to.
Yes. Sources of inspiration, reflection. And those are good things to sip on daily, whatever those are for you. There are books and podcasts and beings who are emanating that pretty consistently. So the company we keep is important.
I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for the things that you girls said today, because I hear what you're saying, and it relieves me, it comforts me, it inspires me. Thank you. Thank you.
We're so glad you came, Phyllis. And also thank you for saying that, you had a week of being critical, because it happens to all of us. We give ourselves grief. Sometimes we're just not that inspired. And I have to remind myself of that too. Life is not eternal spring. It's not like every single thing is going to be like, wow, that was amazing. I'm so grateful. I mean, it's nice if it would be, but it's not. Because there's things that are just not that great, and challenges and interactions that are bristly and unsatisfying, and it's just happens. And so then we have self-compassion. Let's see, Mel, do you want to say something? This might be the only good meditation experience I've had. Oh, great. I'm so glad. Do you want to share anything, Mel? Other than that, which is super awesome. These are recorded. You can come back and listen to this anytime. There are many of them at this point.
Sorry, yeah, my son's nurse was in here, which is why I was typing it up. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I tried it a couple times. It was a long time ago, but friends who have recommended it to me, I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. I just can't get into it. I can't shut off my brain. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I think I'm just a busybody, but no, it was nice. And I think having something to kind of really focus on and think about, when it comes to my family and my son and stuff, and, maybe channeling that energy there was what the difference was. But maybe I'm also just finally in a place where I need that. So it was good. And I think I'll give it a try.
Mel, I'll share as a fellow busy, never stops moving, thinking person. What I found with meditation is that it's just like exercise, that like in the beginning, it sucks. It feels totally pointless and like it's doing nothing. And then after a couple of weeks for me, usually of like consistent quiet space, all of a sudden something shifts and my brain starts slowing down and allowing me to have that space. And to your point, there are days and weeks where it feels totally ineffective still, but I can tell, just again, like exercise, when I haven't meditated for a while, it's like going back in and working out for the first time again, and then it takes time to build back up. But it's like we have to train our brains to slow down and process things. And I think I'm projecting on you, Mel, but I think you could probably relate to this. It's a lot easier to be busy than it is to actually process all of this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I also went into it thinking like, oh, I'm supposed to get something out of this. Like, oh, I'm supposed to like all of a sudden be calmer or feel like I had a connection to myself. And like, it's like, just stop attaching a purpose. Just do it. Like, just like, like you said, just being like, just let that be it. And that's hard. It's hard to be like, oh, that's good enough. Especially when it's always like, okay, in this limited time that I'm going to do this, I feel like I need to like, be crossing off a box. Like, just remove the box and it felt good to do that too. So again, I know we've said it a million times, but just rewiring and letting other things be.
Yeah,
That reminded me, I was thinking of doing things just to do them, right? And like not trying to like succeed at my meditation, right? Where like sometimes like the only goal is to just do it, right? And regardless, like you'll have a good one, you'll have a bad one. That really doesn't matter. That wasn't the point of the exercise, right? It's like even exercise sometimes, like it doesn't need to have a goal of getting a six pack. I can just move my body because I felt like it, or, and just letting some of those things like not have a reason, because I feel like I'm always looking for like a reason. It needs to have a point. It needs to be the most efficient way, and trying to just be like, or it doesn't, like, because right now I'm like tired because I'm like processing a lot of feelings, and I'm in like that work of like, feeling is hard. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we avoid it. It's exhausting. And so it just kind of feels like this was pointless. Like, feelings are stupid, you know, like they just take all the energy out of you. And you're like, but maybe that was like, maybe there is no point to it. And maybe that's okay, you know, where it's just like, but you felt them, they were there, they were real at the time. Like, what else is there to do?
I struggle with the same
That-
thing. When I was teaching, you know, I would never start teaching a lesson in first grade or fifth grade if I couldn't explain the relevancy to my students. If I can't explain why this is relevant and why this matters, even decimals, right? Even like the meatiest of things, I wouldn't start teaching it. And sometimes I would say, guys, I really need some help here. I don't, you know, and we would talk about it, and that would be a conversation piece. But it's hard, you know, because when you're talking about your feelings or deeper things, right? Or I think about some of the struggles or why I'm doing what I'm doing. Most times I can find relevancy, but sometimes you really struggle. Like, or when things just really suck and they're hard and you feel like it's just like, well, why me, right? What is the relevance in this, right? Like, I get really frustrated sometimes. And oftentimes those ones that are super, super hard to answer, it's like, those are the most important. And it's hard sometimes to keep going when you don't have a relevant answer. Thanks.
True. And then you're in the unknown. And then you're
Yeah.
just like doing it because and that's where you get curious. Like, I'm just going to sit, or I'm
Yeah.
just going to do yoga. I'm just going to be, and we're back to being. I'm in an activity and I'm just going to be in the activity without an agenda, which is also takes us back to curiosity. Curiosity is I surrender my agenda. I don't have an agenda, you know? And I'm just curious. Well, what's here? Because curiosity also enables us to respond. I'm not coming in with my heavy-handed, like, okay, this is how it's going to go, and this is why we're doing it. And yes, it's important to have, you know, to know why, especially when you're teaching kids. It's like, well, why are we doing this? You know, and you can just know. I mean, you know, with meditation, the Dalai Lama says, that's the most important thing you could do. And if the Dalai Lama says that, we got to figure it's true. And we know from neuroplasticity that it changes our brains, literally changes our brains, gives us more bandwidth. I mean, if everybody meditated, we'd be living in a completely different planet. And this could be even like a few minutes a day. So I'm going to suggest and invite us to do some kind of meditative practice for this week. And it could be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10. You can come back to these meditations that are recorded here. And they're on Mighty Networks, Erin, or they're on YouTube. Where do we find them?
So the meditative pieces, those parts of our groups or sessions are in YouTube. And then the full sessions are in Mighty Networks.
Right.
Bear
So
with me.
follow Angel Aid on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
return
learning
to
how to do all that.
Okay, great. So, you know, return to these meditations. There's also literally 100,000 meditations on the Insight Timer app, which is free. So please, if you don't already have that downloaded on your phone, do that for yourself. It's great. So let's have meditation. And also it feels like valuing yourself, really valuing yourself. See if you can value yourself as you move through your life, which means you're going to slow down, and you're going to valuing yourself could be just like the self-acknowledgement for showing up here, the self-acknowledgement for taking 5 minutes to stretch, for slowing down enough to notice the sunlight on the trees. It's these little things that really, oh, I'm valuing myself. And because when I do it here, valuing myself, loving myself, then I can do it outside. I'm doing it inside, I'm doing it outside, and there's this flow. And then also, as Erin brought up, oh, I have room for other people to offer me that kind of love and kindness. So we're really, you know, training ourselves to be loving, kind, aware beings, starting with ourselves. So is that a clear assignment / invitation? Okay, great. Oh, anything else before we go? Oh, it's so good to be here with all of you. And oh, I am leading a social event in the retreat on Friday, if anyone wants to come. I'm still planning it. So we'll probably do some of what I do and maybe some other things that we don't do here as well. So please come. It's at 5 o'clock Pacific time this Friday. So come to that event, and I hope everyone's really enjoying the retreat. Erin, you want to say something?
I'll drop you guys into the calendar invite.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, reminders, calendar invites are really good. All
Yes.
right. So good to be with you. I will see you next week. Okay. Thank you.